Welcome to Cool Talk. You probably used one of these today. If you didn't, you probably used one yesterday. If not, go see a doctor. Yet it's amazing how we take the toilet and the sewer system for granted, when until the late 19th century, nobody used toilets. In fact, 1/3 of the world population still doesn't have one. Japan has the best toilets. It has seats that warm up your tush, that plays music to drown the sound, designer toilets like Little Kitty. It has toilet museums, and even the cell phones have apps to tell you where the nearest public toilet is. And yes, ancient Rome had sewer systems and outhouses where the droppings would fall out into a stream, but that was only a small part of the city of Rome. And the Roman sewer system is still being used today. But at the time, it was only for a relatively small part of the city and mostly used by wealthy citizens. The average Roman would walk down the street, pay a little coin to use his public toilet, which is basically a bucket. After you're done, you take a stick with a sponge, wipe your butt, then your buddy comes, uses the same bucket and the same stick and the same sponge. When the barbarians from the north invaded the Roman Empire, well, the population fell in the city of Rome. The sewer system was not expanded, and people went back to pooping on the side of the road like dogs. Now, the first flushable toilet was made by John Harrington in 1571, but it was not marketed. In fact, he only made one for Queen Elizabeth I. It was her own private toilet. She would poop in her castle, and the poop would go out of the castle down a pipe into a creek. In England, Henry VIII of the Tudor dynasty would use this toilet, and someone had the honor of disposing of his feces. They even had a title for him. In this castle, not all the openings that you see are windows. Some are poop chutes. The royal family would defecate. The waste would go down a pipe, out through the holes to the ground below, into a ditch that carried it to a nearby creek. George Washington would use this outhouse in Mount Vernon. But at night, like millions of others, he would use a chamber pot. One of Washington's slaves would empty out the pot in the morning. In 1775, Alexander Cummings created the water closet. A tank of water was overhead. You pull a chain, water would come down, and it would flush the toilet. Joseph Brahma would improve the toilet, and it's the same method we use today. Then came this man, Thomas Crapper. Yes, you heard right. He helped manufacture and patent toilets, sewer hole covers, toilet parts, and he stamped his name on everything. Now, Wikipedia says that the word crap had existed before this, but after Thomas Crapper had toilets designed elegantly in vast amounts, people began to say things such as, "I'm going to take a crap," or "I'm going to use the crapper." But the chamber pot was still much in use. People would defecate and toss the waste outside the windows and doors, and the waste would pile up. At first, no problem, but as cities grew, well, London reached a breaking point in 1858 in what would be called the Great Stink of London. Waste began piling up, sinking into the earth, and contaminating the water supply, and the smell was so bad that people would walk down the street holding scented handkerchiefs or just holding their nose. Cholera epidemics would spread all throughout Europe. You had to keep your windows closed. In the summer, when it was too hot, you opened the windows after soaking your curtains in chemicals to keep the stench out. Epidemics would kill thousands. Then came an engineer, John Basil Get, who insisted that the reason people were dying was because of the waterborne diseases, and people laughed at him. Imagine feces in the drinking water making us sick. How ridiculous. Well, Basil Get was commissioned to tear up the streets and build the sewers, and after 8 years, he succeeded, and the results were outstanding. London smelled nice, and then improvements were made. The epidemic of cholera died, and countless lives were saved. Other cities took notice. However, there were not enough toilets. So poor folks in the London slums shared toilets. 3 families would share one toilet that was usually built outside. And since garbage was outside, well, we had roaches and spiders and rats encircling everybody. And at night, the children would go out to poop afraid, so they'd bring a friend along. And the European habit of 3 or more families sharing a toilet went well into the 1970s. Yet today, a third of the earth still has no toilets or sewers. That's over 2 billion people. In remote areas such as countries like India and Bangladesh, people squat by the side of the road to defecate. Children play outside, often barefoot, and carry germs into the house. Flies would feast on the poop by the side of the road, fly into homes, contaminate the food and the water supply. Every year, 1.5 million children die of diarrhea. That's 3 children every minute, 24/7. Probably about 10 children by the time you finish watching this video. That is more deaths than AIDS, malaria, and measles combined. International organizations have taken action. 10 million new toilets are brought in every year to these areas. Yet these countries lack money and lack resources. So now we need something new, revolutionary even. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have commissioned several universities and engineers to come up with a plan. The most promising one? A waterless toilet that zaps your waste with battery-produced electricity, which creates a gas that can fuel your home. So you can poop in the toilet and then power up the microwave. Or do what the Irish have done for generations. Use a toilet with no water, throw a little straw and ash to kill the smell and keep away the flies, and use it for compost. Simple, but very effective. Well, everybody, that's it. Comment below, or better yet, subscribe. And next time you see a toilet, be grateful. This is Cool Talk.